It's Nick Corrie here from Blackheath and Bromley. We have a good programme this evening. We are going to be talking with Olympian Scott Overall, high performance athlete. This is the latest in our series that's going out BB Harriers Live on a Sunday evening. We've obviously had a variety of people giving their views of what it is to be part of Blackheath and Bromley and the club. So really looking forward to talking to Scott. I'm just hoping that he's coming into the feed at some point. Otherwise I may have to... I can see Scott's there, so I'm going to just bring him in now. I can see that we're already attracting a few viewers, which is great. I'm just seeing whether Scott is able to get in and join us. There he is. Hi, Scott.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, Nick. You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm hoping you can hear me. I've got the headphones in again, but hopefully
Yeah,
that's
no problem.
Good stuff. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad.
Excellent. Well, I'm really glad you could join us for this series, and it's, of course, giving the perspective of different people's experiences of Blackheath and Bromley. And of course, you're someone actually that started your athletics elsewhere. You came to the club later. So just explain to everybody, well, first of all, before we even get into that, how did you find athletics and running?
How I started running?
Yeah.
Probably the same as most people, really, just from school, doing various cross-country races. I went to school in Twickenham, so it was very much a rugby-orientated school, and was no good at rugby, so just ran around the rugby pitches instead in PE lessons. And then, fortunately, there was a decent club around there at the time, Richmond and Twickenham. So I joined them, going down every Sunday. And then, just progressed from there. You tend to enjoy things you're quite good at. And that's what I found. So, I joined Richmond and Twickenham, started training down at Barn Elms, and then I moved to Windsor, Slough, Eton and Hounslow. And then, it's going to sound like I was a member of loads of clubs here. And then I went to university in the States. Well, no, actually before that, I was doing a lot of training and races with Michael Skinner, also a member of Blackheath.
Yeah.
And it just made sense at the time. I was training with him. I was going to the same races, but running for different clubs. So, I just decided to join Blackheath. And for my sins, I got an 8-month ban due to switching clubs.
An 8-month ban. That's incredible. Mm-hmm. So just
That's
talk everyone through it because nowadays the whole and I'm very conscious that you're someone that switched clubs a lot, so I don't want to tell you how easy it is to change club now. But as a team manager, I do know that it is quite straightforward. You just have to go online to England Athletics, click a few links, give back whatever trophies you've won from the club, and you're kind of free to move. How come back then it was like an 8-month ban? That sounds horrific.
Yeah, I think it's just the archaic times. Like the athletics committee was that's what happened at the time. I think if you didn't move house or there was not a genuine reason for you moving club, you had to serve a ban. And it was, glad to hear that things have changed now, but at that time I had to serve 8-month ban for moving clubs. Fortunately, I was in the States at that time, so it didn't really just serve my time out there. And run for Blackheath ever since.
And I was, that's great. Well, I'm glad that you do. I'm glad you made that choice. Maybe the thought of another 8-month ban put you off moving. So hold that thought, I would say. And you went to the States. You went to Butler University, which I've had a look at where Indianapolis is. I mean, what an interesting part of the States to be in. You're sort of 80 miles to the northwest. You're at Chicago. You're just above Cincinnati. What is that like as a place actually for running? Because it's got a great reputation in cross country, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, since I went there, it's become more of a basketball school. I think that they reached like the NCAA finals twice in 2 years. The final game, lost both of them for basketball. Wow. But at the time I went there in 2004, we finished 4th in the country at NCAA's as a team. and at that time it was the highest position Butler had ever finished. And there was quite a few Brits there with me, and it's just a great team atmosphere. The running was good, even though it's a big city. Butler was just a little bit outside the city, so we had some nice canal paths, some nice trails. Obviously, with it being an American university, you've got all the facilities you could ever dream of. So you got the track there and everything. So yeah, it was a good setup, and I really enjoyed my time out there.
And going as an English person over to the States, had you travelled much before?
I travelled a little bit. It's so long ago, I can't remember. I think since then I've definitely travelled more. Been to multiple cities and places in the States racing. But yeah, I mean, since then, sort of my athletic career got better since going to Butler. So yeah, I've obviously had more opportunities and more races abroad since then.
I'm just wondering how easy the transition was. I mean, because it is a big step to go to another country. I mean, I've done it for work, not for study, and I did it early in my career, and it was sort of exciting at first, and then there was a kind of like, oh, I don't, where's my family? It is quite tough, right?
No, it was it was definitely a lot different. I think what helped me is, as I said, there was a lot of other Brits there at the time. So we all lived together, and it was almost like it was like a piece of home, just being at home in the States, if that makes sense.
Right.
So
yeah.
But we all everyone there is still friends to this day. It's great. It was good team atmosphere. So it wasn't, it was a big transition, but it wasn't difficult. And once you got into your training, got into your running, and just had a good time.
And obviously yesterday we had the 4th of July. Does that still resonate for you, or not really?
No, not really. It never really did when we were out in the States. I mean, obviously you got either a day off university or whatever. It's like a public holiday out there, and obviously got involved in fireworks, drinking the beers and everything. But it was, I think over there it's the American Independence Day from Britain, so it's almost we don't want to celebrate that.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. And was this where you really sort of picked up your interest in Big Macs? Because I think Rich Hall might be on the feed. Yeah,
Richie's on the feed. He's probably going to leave now out of protest. So that was a story. A few years ago, we had a bet. Rich made a bet with myself and Mike Skinner that we wouldn't turn out for the club to run across country. I think it was I can't even remember what it was. It's Southern Men's League or something. And he ended up betting that if we turned up, he had to eat a Big Mac, which myself and Skinner both turned out for the club. And then, we presented him with the Big Mac at the clubhouse.
Very, very good. Very, very good. Excellent. And what did you study at Butler? Because obviously you're doing what you're running, but what you obviously picked up a degree, I hope.
Yeah, I picked up a degree. I did economics out there.
All right, fantastic. That's great. Yeah. And so did that take you to a career, or really from then were you a professional athlete? Are you a professional athlete? What's your situation?
Once I graduated from Butler in 2007, I was running professionally for a number of years, and then worked part-time to supplement that. And then since then, one of the part-time jobs I had was at London Marathon, and now I'm doing that full-time. So I work full-time for London Marathon now, as well as still running to a somewhat high level, maybe sometimes.
And do you have any insight on whether this year's race is still on? Because I know a lot of people will be watching with interest with their places.
Yeah, I mean, it's still scheduled to go ahead on the 4th of October. And the next update will be end of the month, end of July. So hopefully, we can go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I know there's been a few races cancelled in recent weeks, and people are getting a bit jittery in the club. But let's see. I mean, it'd be great.
I think
it's still on.
Yeah, a lot of races. Obviously, each race is different. They have different decisions to make with their own individual races. Infrastructure and crowds and things like that. It's different for each race. So hopefully, London Marathon, we can put something on.
And you mentioned obviously that you've been running with Mike Skinner, and really this sort of takes me up to the era because I'm in the clubhouse, and one of the photos that's on the wall is of you, Mike Skinner, Alex Gibbons, Andy Rayner, picking up a
Yep.
silver in the national cross country relays at Mansfield, and that's in 2009. How
Yeah.
was that?
Yeah, I mean, I think like most clubs up and down the country, you always think you can do well if you had your best team out. And I think that was one of the few occasions we actually managed to get our best team out. And yeah, we walked away with a silver medal. So that was good. Yeah, unfortunately, it didn't happen too many times after that. It's one of those where unfortunate injuries at wrong times and people being away racing and other things, we just never managed to get back there. But hopefully, the club's got quite a few youngsters coming through now. And if you don't get guys leaving the club, joining Leeds, won't mention any names. We could have had some more medals.
Well, you never say never. I mean, I did run that course with you actually at Mansfield, and it was one of my moments for the club because we obviously weren't in the same team. I was in the B team, but I think you were on the fourth leg, and
Yeah.
I think I must have been on the third, not the second, when you came past me. And I tell you what, you came past me, Andy Vernon came past me. And you guys, I mean, it's so exhilarating to someone like me because you were both just like an absolute freight train. And that's the only way I could describe it. I mean, there was just one gear and it was just high gear and you two just like steaming around the course. And it's brilliant. You mentioned some of the other lads. I mean, my thought at that time as I was up there, because, I'm a team manager, was all I wanted was for the young athletes to really see, what you were doing because it is absolutely terrific. And it's great, you mentioned obviously that story with Rich Hall about turning out for a club race or whatever. I do love the handicaps that we have at Blackheath because, we do, particularly the yacht handicaps where, you're out there on the course, you've got people, better than you chasing you, people in front of you that you're probably going to catch. I mean, it is great that we can have these races that bring, the club together and where people can rub shoulders with the likes of yourself. So I hope you do come out for more of those races, particularly after lockdown as well, if we get one of these races back on, because I think it'll be a great moment for the club.
Yeah, I mean, cross country isn't my favourite, but I do like the relays, especially that course. Mansfield course is good. It's very easy to get carried away on it because obviously you've got the fast downhill start, and then you soon find out after the first lap if you've gone off a little bit too quick. But yeah, hopefully we can get another team out that can compete.
I know it is great. And as you say, that downhill start, there's a lovely area of mud as you sort of get into the woods as well, which takes a number of people out. So it's a very, very good, very good course. and so really beyond that, and you say you don't like cross country. I was obviously looking at the Power of 10. 2008, you were ranked second in the 5,000 behind Sir Mo, who wasn't Sir Mo at the time. So was that a near selection for the Olympics, or was that not going to be a chance in 2008?
I think the qualifying time for 08 was 13:20. I think I ran 13:28 that year. Yeah. So I was 8 seconds off the qualifying time. And then, after 2008, sort of, I carried on running 5Ks for a couple of years, and rolling into 2012, I hadn't run any quicker over the 5K. So I was still out racing 5Ks in the May of 2011, and I decided to do the Berlin Marathon. Purely just to see how it would go. It gave me another opportunity to try and make the Olympics. If the marathon didn't go well in September, then obviously I still had the 2012 track season to try and run quicker over the 5K or the 10K. Fortunately, the marathon went well. I ran 2:10:55 on my debut, and that qualified me for 2012, which was good.
That was. I mean, it was a terrific run, and as you say, it was your debut. It's not the club record. I don't know if
I was about to say that.
Mark Steinley's watching or not. I know it's not the club record, but you do have the club half marathon record, which you set the next year in New York, running on a half marathon course there. So that's obviously great too, because the Blackheath records are kind of special, right?
I think I've got a 3K one. I think I have the 3K one too, don't I? Maybe.
I'll have to check. I'll have to look. Your 3K time, I did look on Paraten. It looks really, really great. But I'm not sure. I'll have to look on the club one. But it was that one that caught my eye down the bottom there. And so when you came to London to run the marathon, in fact, was that the first time you'd done the London Marathon course?
The Olympic marathon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Olympic marathon. Yeah, the
Olympics.
Olympics.
That's not on the London course, is it? So,
no. So I actually paced in 2012. So I paced the London Marathon in 2012 because I was pre-selected in the December, and then the time was 2:12, I think. So I paced the marathon for the other British guys to try and hit the qualifying time. And that was the first time I've run the London Marathon course in 2012. And then obviously my second marathon was the Olympic marathon.
Oh, right, fantastic. And so when you're pacing, how far did you go with the London Marathon course? You don't go the whole way, presumably? No,
not the whole way. I think just over halfway, I think. So over Tower Bridge, turn right, and then probably about another 2 or 3 miles after that. I think at the time there was 1, 2, 3. There's 2 Americans and myself pacing, and at the time no Brits were coming with us. So effectively we weren't really pacing anyone. So we just stopped.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair enough. That's fair. And obviously to get to represent your country at London, that must have been pretty special. What are your memories of that?
Well, I mean, from a race point of view, it was terrible. I just kind of went into it a bit naive. Obviously, with it being my second marathon, the actual marathon day was very hot that day. I don't know if anyone was watching or there on the course, but the crowds were amazing. It was just completely surreal being on the course. I finished the race, my ears were ringing from the noise. It was just noise for the whole time, for the whole 26.2 miles. It was just a wall of noise. And especially if you were wearing the British vest, obviously there was noise. And then you can just hear the decibels go up as you get, as you're coming, the crowd see the British vest and just go mad. But yeah, from a personal point of view, it was a bad race. But an experience, it was unreal.
That's I can imagine that the crowd. I mean, that is terrific. And when did you choose to get that rather fetching tattoo that I think you have underneath your on
arm? My shoulder? Yeah. That was after the race. Yeah, I wanted to make 2016 and make amends for 2012. So unfortunately, that didn't happen either. So I had the qualifying time in 2016, but unfortunately, I had. I turned out for the trial in 2016. Unknown to me, I had glandular fever at the time.
Oh, no.
And felt terrible from after about 2 miles. So I knew it wasn't going to be my day. But didn't get selected. That's quite late to get that. Because a lot of people kind of get that in their teens, don't they? Late teens. I know some of our runners have had that. Recently. That's a real blow to experience that. And what are your plans going forward? I mean, is the marathon still your distance, or are you sort of making adjustments now? What are you thinking? No, I mean, obviously with the whole coronavirus situation, you don't know when the next race is going to be, but hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have a clearer idea of sort of what marathons are available, or what marathons are still happening. So hopefully, by maybe November, December, January, I can find a marathon and give it another shot, get that club record. Yeah, absolutely. And so you obviously mentioned that London was really your second marathon at the Olympics. It was only your second time. What would you, looking back, what advice would you give yourself in terms of doing things maybe slightly differently, or do you think you wouldn't? Do you think that's just not really something that could have happened? No, I think obviously with it being the first marathon went so well. Um, as I said, I was training for 5K in the May of 2011 and then decided to do the marathon. And I think for me, I need to be quick over the shorter distances, like 10K, half marathon, going into a marathon. There's so many different ways to train for a marathon. You can do, 100, 120 mile a week, doing long, long runs and not so much on the track, or you can do it the way I did it, still maintaining that speed on the track, but obviously you still need to do the long runs, but not as much mileage. So obviously the first marathon went so well, and then the second marathon, I thought, well, if I do more mileage, increase the mileage and get stronger, then I could run even quicker. And I was very fit going into 2012, but conditions weren't conducive to running quick, even though I kind of went off thinking I could. You look at some of the guys that finished quite a few places in front of me, they went off very slow and just came through the field while everyone else kind of struggled in the heat, myself included. So, yeah, if I was to do it again, going out a lot slower and, yeah, just pacing myself a lot better and respecting the conditions a bit more.
Yeah. No, and that's great. I mean, do you, what is for you, do you have a sort of reflection period with your coach after each race, particularly something like the marathon? Do you dissect that together, or is that something really that you sort of figure out yourself?
Yeah, I think with that one race, I knew what I did wrong. It wasn't a case of I didn't need anyone to tell me what had gone wrong, and it's just a shame it was at the Olympics. No one wants to have their worst race of their career probably at the Olympic Games, but yeah, that's what happened, and yeah, you just kind of move on. Unfortunately, my debut marathon is still my quickest. I've run within 20 seconds of it. I think around 2:11:20 something. And going back to what I said before, I trained for the 2:10:55 and the 2:11:23. I had two different coaches, and the training was completely different night and day. So just I don't know, from a personal point of view, it just goes to show there's more than one way to train for a marathon. You just have to find out what kind of works for you.
That's tremendous. And obviously now you're working with London Marathon. What do you do for them? What's your job with them?
So I work in the entries department, and among other things, and I also sort of liaise with British Athletics and England Athletics on sort of the marathon funding that gets given to UKA and England Athletics. So, for example, the new talent hubs that have been set up, London Marathon have contributed to those talent hubs in conjunction with UKA, EA. So one of them is in Leeds and the other one's in Birmingham. So, hopefully it provides a bit of a pathway for, get better.
Yeah, I mean, it's good actually. I mean, this year, obviously with Corona, then I think some of they've been a bit more broad actually with the pathways, which is good. I know that they've recently announced, particularly for what was the ACE course, that they're throwing it open much wider to people, which I think is a great thing. So I think we are very, very lucky in the sport to have those as well, to sort of to take people forward and so on. And what's for you? Are you happy with London Marathon? Is that going to be your career path now, or what's your beyond running? What do you think? Have you started sort of thinking in terms of other things with athletics at all?
As I said, I'm enjoying my role at London Marathon at the moment. I kind of, as I was saying at the very start of this conversation, I've kind of grown up through running, started at school, and you then join your local club and you progress through, when you're very young, you want to run for your club, and then you run for your county, or maybe even your borough, and then your county, and then your area. I remember running for the south of England in cross country in various places in Belgium, and that was a fantastic experience. And then you eventually, hopefully, you get your England best, and then obviously, if you progress high enough, you get your Great Britain best, and it's that clear pathway. And it's always, athletics is a great sport because you can see what you need to do. You can know what times you have to run or how far you jump or throw to make teams, and you just have that pathway. And I think right now there's a lot of athletes, especially younger athletes, are dropping out the sport, and we kind of need to reverse that trend. So I think the work I'm doing with London Marathon and the funding that's going in can hopefully find a way to stop that, and find out why young athletes are leaving the sport so young, when potentially they could be, if they stayed on the same pathway, they could eventually run for Great Britain at the Olympics instead of leaving the sport.
Yeah, and it's something that we talk about at club level actually as well, because we do have this train, and we've obviously got a tremendous young men and young women's team. Went to Europe, came second and came third, and yet we don't seem to be able to translate that into as high a performance at the National Athletics League level. So hopefully, we can change that around, and we are sort of looking at how to keep people in the club.
Or switching clubs, like Phil Sessman.
Well, yeah, that's true also, but I'm sure we can win him back. We will try.
I'll let him off. I'll let him off. He actually bought a house and moved up there, so I'll let him off. But no, it is an important point. I think it's that transition from a good junior athlete to good senior athletes, and yeah, I think there's a lot of work to be done to find out why athletes leave, and hopefully we can. Blackheath, as you said, got a fantastic, the Bees Academy. They've got young athletes there, and it's almost that should be the sort of, this is what every club should be like. Why are other clubs not able to produce these young athletes? Look at Dina. She's been Blackheath. She hasn't switched clubs like me. She's come through, and now look at her, and she's a product from Blackheath. And I just think if we can get more athletes like that and extend what Blackheath are doing to other clubs, then surely that will get greater success at senior level.
Yeah. Well, I know that Andy and Elaine Rayner now have got a couple of kids, and Mark Steinley's obviously had a baby daughter. Have you got any kids as well, Scott? Did I hear some earlier when we were talking?
Yeah. I've got a 2-year-old. So a
2-year-old. So it's looking very promising for sort of 10, 15 years time for Blackheath. I would say that the next sort of generation coming through. Well,
her mum ran 2 minutes for 800, and I ran a decent marathon. So, but I've heard you get your speed from your dad and your endurance from your mum. So I think she's a bit screwed in that front.
You can always try pole vault.
Maybe.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, thank you very, very much for joining us for this BB Harris Live. It's been great to talk to you, and thank you for sharing your experience with us about the club and all the other clubs you've been at, Scott. And enjoy the rest of the lockdown and make the most of it. And hopefully, as you say, London will be on, and we'll see you soon. So
yeah, well, hopefully we can get a team out for the cross-country relays. And
yeah, I would love that.
Yeah, maybe I'll make another bet with Rich Hall.
Great stuff. All right, thanks very, very much, Scott. Take care.
Cheers, Nick. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.